very good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you, to all the students, all the participants of Tectonic 2021. Right, as the name suggests, we're talking about tech, but we're making it fun, right? So that becomes a Tectonic. This is a very unique initiative by Jain University, which is of course based out of Bangalore, one of the top engineering institutions in the country, where we have endeavored to make sure that we help students, and predominantly our focus is students who have cleared class 12th, trying to make a career choice in this very exciting world of technology, help you guys find the right career path as you progress up, and at the same time give you flavors of various pieces which create this tectonic. Right. So, for example, when we talk about AI, and everybody, so how many of you've heard of AI? Or rather, let me ask you this question, and you guys can respond back on the chat. If I ask you, what is AI? And don't give me the full form, but what do you think? What is AI? What is machine learning? And guys, when you respond back on the chat, you can respond back to all panelists and attendees. So there's a blue bar there where you can change the bar option and respond to all panelists and attendees. And let's make it a hyperactive, very interactive sessions. So I see somebody just wrote a message. That's the future, right? So AI, machine learning, data science, and guys, come on! I want everyone to respond. Let's get the energy up here. Okay, and guys, when you respond, on that blue bar that you have, change it to all panelists and attendees, right? So that everybody else in the session, and this is a huge session. We're having over 1,000 participants today. So let's make it right, really interactive. And what is AI? What is machine learning? And I see most of you are responding to only panelists, guys. There's a blue bar there where you could change the blue bar, make it all panelists and attendees. Let's push it up. Okay, so I see a huge amount of responses coming in on the chat boxes, and very excited. I'm sure all of you guys are super excited. Let's actually have a round of applause for all of you who've joined in this afternoon, as part of this very unique series on, as you say, tectonic. So round of applause for everyone. And I'm really happy with the energy that I see on the chat, and really looking forward to amazing next 5 weeks of learning, of immersion, of getting familiarized with technologies. So guys, the way we're going to be, so firstly about myself. So I'm Varun Jain. I'm the CEO of Miles Education. I'm also a member of the Chancellor's Council at Jain University, and as you know, Jain University works very closely with the industry. The industry is part of the boardroom at the university. Just to make sure that the students, the curriculum is in line with what industry wants. Rather, as a matter of fact, we take pride in the fact that most of the training that is done at the university level at Jain is working backwards from industry requirements. So we work backwards from industry requirements to get people ready. I'm also the CEO of Futurance Technologies. This is a company I co-founded last year. This is a tech company, and we recruit data engineers, data scientists, AI and ML engineers. And in the next few years, hopefully, we're going to be the largest recruiters of data engineers and data scientists and AI ML engineers in the country. And of course, we work with Fortune 500 MNCs. We deploy engineers on various projects. So a huge opportunity that we see in this vast world of AI and machine learning. I don't know, AI and machine learning is the most exciting phrases to hear, but then you also have data science, you also have data engineering. So like all of this comes together in that piece. So what we had done, at Jain University, last year, it's been happening for the last many years. But specifically last year, a couple of very interesting specializations were introduced. One is, BTech in, AI and machine learning. And another specialization which was introduced last year was BTech in cyber security. So, right, so when you talk about AI machine learning, you're talking about Python programming, you're talking about statistics, you're talking about supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning, you're talking about deep learning, you're talking about reinforcement learning, you're talking about AI, right? So let's say if I pick up this phone and I have to unlock my phone, what I need to do is, when you touch something, I just need to look at my phone and my phone will unlock, right? This is computer vision, right? So the phone recognizes my face. I can put on Siri, I can talk to Siri. Siri would recognize my voice, right? So these are very, very simple. These are actually applications of weak AI. They're not even the strongest forms, but computer vision, natural language processing, image processing, so Facebook knows, right? When you put a photograph up on Facebook, they know, okay, hey, this is the person, this is your friend, and you can just click a button and tag them, right? They are recognizing via images. So all of this, right, in this very, very exciting world of AI. So the tectonic series that we have, so AI is one of our key themes. AI, machine learning is a key theme. The second key theme that we have is around cybersecurity. So as everything is going online, right? And you hear about hackers, from Russia, or I don't know from which part of the world, hacking into the systems, asking for bounties, and this has been a scary proposition for companies. A lot of data for companies, a lot of sensitive data. Let's say your credit card information. Let's say you buy something from Amazon, and your credit card information is stored. Not just yours. For millions and millions of their customers. What if somebody hacks in there and steals that data, right? So it's really, really critical that we secure the cyberspace, and that is where the cybersecurity folks, the cybersecurity engineers, with shields, they protect the entire cyberspace, right? And when we talk about cybersecurity, we start with network defense. What I see kids, students, engineers, upcoming engineers, most excited about is ethical hacking, right? So you want to learn how the hackers do it, but you will not do it for the bad reasons. You will do it for the good reasons. Then we talk about penetration testing, right? How do you penetrate into the system? So what you do is you actually hack your own system. And you're not doing it for the bad reasons. You're looking at vulnerabilities in your current system. So guys, a lot of exciting topics that we're going to be covering through Tectonic. And of course, for those of you who want to really build up a career in these emerging and exponential technologies, you can join in for the Jain University programs. So, this series over the next 5 weeks would be a prelude to the kind of industry interventions that we have at Jain University, the way we make teaching fun. I know AI sounds very big. So we have demystified AI. We've broken that into pieces. As a matter of fact, in the next 5 weeks, you guys would also be hands-on on Python programming. I know some of you are very, very smart kids. You would have already known Python and all that, all technologies, but we'll also give you, so the agenda that we will have is there'll be a total of 10 sessions. Out of 10 sessions, we'll have one session on Saturday, one on each Sunday. So the Saturday sessions is where we will have industry experts coming and talking to you and presenting the big picture, right? So today, we have a speaker from Accenture, a thought leader in the world of AI and cybersecurity. We also have a speaker who's ex-Amazon. So we're going to have a lot of, we have speakers from Google, from Uber, from many, many companies over the next few weeks. And they will talk about how AI is driving the world today, how AI is driving the companies that they are working for or they work for. So they'll give you use cases, practical applications of AI. So that's going to be the first 3 weeks. The last two Saturdays is going to be around cybersecurity, and we actually have an ethical hacking expert who will give you a preview of how ethical hacking works. So this is going to be 5 sessions on 5 Saturdays. Today, and of course, as you guys are aware, we've started today. Then you will also have 5 sessions on 5 Sundays. The sessions on Sundays that you have will be around Python programming. So we will have another industry expert who will come and teach you how do you get started on Python. Of course, in 5 Sundays, we'll not be able to make you an expert, but we will get you started on that path so that you too are able to create AI models. You too are able to deploy AI models. We will talk a lot about the cloud. When we talk about the cloud, some people look up in the sky and they say, okay, those are the clouds. No, we're talking about clouds in the cyber world. So in the old days, right, companies used to have their own servers, where they used to store data. Today, all the data is most of the companies are moving to the cloud. You have Amazon with AWS, Amazon Web Services. You have Microsoft with Azure. You have Google with GCP, Google Cloud Platform, right? So these are, the top. So Amazon is the leader, Azure is a close second, and Google is catching up, right? So, and of course, there are a lot of other platforms, services by a lot of other companies as well. So when we talk about this, right? So, when we prepare you for the world of AI, when we prepare you for the world of data, what we will also be teaching you is how do you deploy those solutions, those models on the cloud, right? And it really gets fun and exciting. Of course, it's going to be a long journey. And there's some students I see on the chat, they say, let's get started. We will get started in a couple of minutes. My agenda here is to just help you set the context and, get you started. So before I pass it over to Dr. Vivek, who will actually introduce a couple of students that we have from our programs, who will talk about a few things that they have done. A very unique club has been created. Turing Club has been created at Jain University. We have, one of the students who went in for the Google Code workshop. So a lot of exciting stuff which Dr. Vivek would talk about. But before I pass it over to him, a quick foreword in terms of the programs that we are running at Jain University. One is the BTech in AI and machine learning, BTech in cybersecurity, and there are a lot of other programs. There's a BTech in AI, BTech in IoT, and multiple other emerging technology programs that you could look at. As a matter of fact, for these couple of programs that we launched out last year, we've also integrated with industry. There is 3AI, there is Wiley Next, and as a matter of fact, IIT certifications offered by Wiley have also been integrated into the program. So people who complete their BTech with Jain will also have an advanced or a PG certification from one of the top IITs in these emerging technologies in AI and machine learning, in cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. So that's the context, guys. I see a lot of energy on the chat. I see people talking about where they are from, what they're doing. You guys do amazing even in this virtual world. So welcome everyone to this session. All of us at Jain University are really excited to host all of you. Not just today, guys. Today is just the start. Over the next 5 weeks, as we run you through all the 10 sessions. And I see a message in the chat which says, this is Gen Z after all. Yes, this is Gen Z. You guys make all of us younger, and we're really, really excited to be able to, work with you, talk to you, to educate you, to get you ready to help us change the world for the better. So once again, a round of applause to all of you. I think this is for you guys for joining in on the session, and really, really looking forward to the amazing spree, over the next 5 weeks with, as I said, Tectonic, right? How do you make technology exciting? How do you make a cocktail out of technology is what we will talk about. So with this, I will pass on to Dr. Vivek, who heads the new emerging tech programs that were recently launched out. And, Dr. Vivek will also talk about, few of his students whom he's very proud of. You can see the smile on his face. So over to you, Dr. Vivek.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Firstly, I would like to thank you, sir, for giving this kind of platform for the young generation to understand the newest technologies, so that they set their platform ready before they enter to the BTech courses. And thank you very much, sir, for your brief introduction and overview and things for the Tectonic. I will not take much time here. Probably I'll just spend 1 or 2 minutes. Then my students are ready here. They're going to give you a couple of points, what they're doing or what is their experience as of now with the department, or let's say what are the achievements of projects, what they have involved, and what is the club they have started. And they're going to give you all those details. Before I hand over it to the Rishi or Vaibhav, who are the students of first year AI, ML, and cybersecurity in Jain University, please make use of these sessions. These sessions are well planned, curated for especially for the +2 students to understand what is all about the technology, AI, and ML, and let's say cybersecurity, what is happening in the industry, and we will make sure that every session is going to be like fun-filling. You will learn, and we will not make you bored, right? The session is all yours. Ask more questions, interact with the industry experts, whoever we have it in the session. Try to understand even a small doubt. Ask even a small doubt what you have with respect to whatever the concept is going to deliver it to you. So now I just request Rishi to take over the session and just give a brief introduction about his achievements. Rishi is our first year student, as I said, who is doing his AIML with Jain University. Recently, he has cracked the Google Code project, and there's a project which he has given to the Google, and they're funded for the project. So over to you, Rishi. Quickly, glance.
So good afternoon to everyone present here, and thanks for all the panelists for having me here. So before I talk about my Google Summer of Code project, I would like to tell a small story about our journey. We were at the same position as you all are right now. The pandemic had just started when we got admission into Jain University, and we were excited as all you are. It has been a very beautiful transition from class 12 to class BTech, which we are doing now. Right now, we have completed our first year, and we'll be going into our second year very soon right now. So we had the same sessions, like we had similar sessions to at the starting of a BTech, and it's been a very pleasant journey throughout the first year, even though if we have not visited the campus yet due to the pandemic, and we hope soon it reopens and we get to visit and we all meet each other very soon. But going on to my Google Summer of Code journey. So my Google Summer of Code, I have been accepted in the organization R Project for Statistical Computing. So R, as you may all know, is most profound language in the data analytics field. So Python and are most used language in data analytics and machine learning. So it's been a pleasure working with R till now. It's been 2 months since I have started working with them, and it's been a very good journey with R Statistical Computing. So my project involves mostly about creating machine learning for macro diffusion indexes, macroeconomic diffusion indexes to be precise, and it involves forecasting future data of economic values by the previous values. So it's been a long journey of learning throughout the year, and we had as I told, we had similar sessions which helped me crack the journey also. For example, you will have sessions with Yashin sir with Python. We are currently going through some sessions also in our holidays too, and especially I would like to thank Vivek sir, who helped us a lot, even while just opening or forming our club, which my friend will explain in a while. And also, that's it from my side. I would like to hand over to my friend Vaibhav for the explanation of the club which we have formed, the open source culture we are bringing into the campus together with Vivek sir and all the panelists present here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rishi. Information what you have provided for the students and the young generation who are asking for the AIML and cybersecurity. So over to Vaibhav. Can you give us a small, let's say, glimpse of what is a club all about? What are the actions you are taking as a part of? What is your vision and mission?
Sure, sir. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you, Varun sir, Vivek sir, and other panelists for having me here to tell my juniors how we at the club are helping. We can help those to, as you said, to make them industry ready. Like we will be teaching them what is open source and how they can work as a team in open source open source environment. So hi everyone, this is Vaibhav Kulshrestha. I am the co-leader for the Turing Club and the founder of Hybro Systems, a web development company. So continuing from where Rishi ended about open source, I will further explain about open source and how we, at the Turing Club, under the guidance of Jane, deemed to be university, are determined to expand your vision of open source. First, let me tell you about some of the famous software which are open source and a part of our daily computer use. We have Mozilla Firefox, VLC Player, Blender, Python, and Linux. We use them daily and they are open source and we didn't even know about it. So you may ask me what is open source and what I mean when I say these softwares are open source. So in a simple answer to this question is developers around the world enhance or fix the bug in the software. They do it as a contribution to the open source world rather than a monetary transaction. Okay, let me explain you with example. For example, for Mozilla Firefox, a developer may change the color scheme of the Mozilla Firefox and make it more user-friendly. For VLC Player, a developer may add a 10-second feature to the VLC Player that may help in video streaming. For Python, a developer may add a function for, say, sort that may take 5 integers in it and give a sorted array of the numbers. Okay. So now you might be wondering why open source and why is it important? Open source licensing encourages innovation through collaboration. What I mean by this is a developer can use someone else's code and make something out of it, something new, something creative, something innovative that could have been locked behind the patent law mainly. So, for example, Goldman Sachs have provided their AI model that they use as an analytical tool to others. So any one of you can use their AI model to predict the rent of a house, or you can predict whether you can guesstimate whether your business will run or not, how many supplies you should have, or anything. You can use the model and create something new out of it. Now, let me tell you about the Turing Club under the guidance of Jane Dean to University and how we are making sure every one of you get first-hand experience of the open source world. The Turing Club is a tech and the open source club for the campus. The primary motive of the club is to outsource project mainly based on the skill set you will be learning during your semester curriculum. For example, most of you will be learning about DSA, that is short for data structures and algorithm, in your third semester. So we will be providing you with a project mainly like cafeteria order management system or banking system, in which you will use your skills of third year data structure and algorithm and contribute to the software. Okay, that's not all. To keep you all motivated, we also plan to have many cash prizes for the top contributors and all. As I said before, the Turing Club is a tech club of our campus. So we will be organizing workshops to say building robots from Arduino or Python, or making the current trend of drone, or maybe something else from it. We would also be having webinars from top professionals from top companies like Google, Amazon, Flipkart. In a week or two, we are having a webinar from Jason Mazer, the top advocate from TensorFlow Google. So we will be organizing more of that. Secondly, as I said, we are a tech club. We will be hosting hackathons. We will be hosting inter-college tech fest with multiple engaging coding and gaming and other tech events as well. That's all from my side. That is Turing Club from you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Vaibhav. Thank you, Vaibhav, for that brief introduction. Now I pass on to Dr. Saroj. We start with the most awaited sessions.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you, Vivek sir, for giving me this opportunity. So now I just want to welcome Philip sir for welcoming. I just want to tell you, he is an industry analyst and artificial intelligence veteran, entrepreneur to the leader and visionary digital transformation and innovative executive. Currently, he serves as vice president and the global lead cyber defense and applied artificial intelligence at Accenture Technologies. Having more than 17 years of IT experience, and he is invited more than 400 national and international conferences throughout the globe. So I really feel honored in welcoming Philip sir to share his thoughts. So please welcome to Philip sir so that he can share, create whatever his thought. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for taking time out and joining this session today. Many congratulations to Varun, Miles team, and Jain University for organizing such an amazing program for helping our future leaders, to be prepared for the future opportunities. Right? Thank you so much. So I'm just going to share my screen. Let me know once you can see the screen, and I can start off. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, Philip, very well, very visible.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Varun. As I mentioned, we are now gathered here with about 1,000, almost 1,000 future leaders, right? And we want to see how one of the hot topics like artificial intelligence is going to shape and help to build our future career as well. As Varun mentioned, the future is all about artificial intelligence. And we could see that in the chat window, a number of responses when Varun was asking about what is artificial intelligence. All of you shared very, very amazing, excellent inputs into the chat window about artificial intelligence. So it is very great to know that all of you are very familiar with artificial intelligence. So today, in the next 30 minutes, I'm not going to talk about the algorithms and the formula and the technology aspects of the artificial intelligence, but I'm going to show you how the world is changing with the artificial intelligence and how we are going to live a life and what kind of career opportunities for all of us, especially in various domains, industries, companies, etc., with the help of artificial intelligence. So before I start, I just have a disclaimer. So I'm working with Accenture, as you heard, but I'm talking here in my personal capacity. All the examples I'm going to show you here is completely available in the public domain. So all the demos or examples or case studies, what you see is freely available on internet. You can go and verify, or you can read through that. You can understand those examples, much more detail in the internet, whenever you are having time. I love sharing my knowledge across various platforms. So I hope this session is going to be helpful for all of you to see how industry is adopting AI and how we are living in a world of artificial intelligence, right? So yeah, this word is very, very familiar. We already started living in a situation where anything and everything we do today, there is a bit of AI is already in place. Whenever we are engaging in Facebook, right, as already Varun mentioned, whenever you are uploading a photograph, you can see automatically your name or your friend's name will be recommended there to tag them in the photograph, right? So it's about AI. When you are using your facial recognition, when you are using your face to unlock your phone, again there's a bit of AI. When you are opening your phone, if you're using an Android phone, you can say, you can see that at the bottom there, when you keep pressing on that, it will come, a mic will come, and you can say talk, so that the Google can search it for you. There is a bit of AI in the background. So today, when we are purchasing something through Amazon or Flipkart, when we are playing some games in the mobile phone, or when we are putting our photographs and videos and messages and content in the Facebook, or when we are searching anything in the Google. So everywhere you can see a bit of AI playing there in the background. So, and this AI, artificial intelligence, when I say AI, artificial intelligence capability, today it is coming to every aspect of our life. I just want to show you some examples. I just want to play some videos, interesting videos, to so that you will be able to understand how it is already happening in the on the ground. So when we talk about AI, we initially we may think about very, very complex coding, a lot of algorithms coming into picture, a lot of mathematical and statistical formula coming into picture. But when it is getting deployed, when it is getting implemented, when it is getting installed on systems, you will not see these algorithms in the front, but you will see amazing solutions for the customers. So I just want to play one video about how various companies are adopting this AI and then delivering seamless solutions, or completely changing the way how different companies operate today. So you are familiar with all these companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, Airbnb, Netflix, Uber. You are familiar with all these companies today. If you look at, these are some of the companies now, very, very young companies, just 15 to 20 years into the market. Today, they are the number one companies in their respective area. And one of the very, very interesting fact is that when they become the number one companies, one of the key things that help them to become the number one companies is nothing but artificial intelligence. They born as a digital company. They started leveraging the data. They started applying analytics and artificial intelligence right from the beginning of their operations, right from the beginning of their organization. And today that helped them to really become the number one companies in the world. So I just wanted to show a few examples about how this Google and Amazon, etc., are really delivering analytics and artificial intelligence on the ground, right? So let me play a simple video that how Amazon is bringing artificial intelligence into retail shop. Imagine that, I mean, all of you are familiar with the supermarkets, right? So I'm sure that all of you will be going to supermarket to purchase many, many things, right? So when you go to a supermarket, typically what is your experience? You have to go to the supermarket and then, you have to be in the queue or there will be a security guard who will be checking you. And then you have to go and purchase all or take all your goods, what you need, and come to the billing counter. Then again, you have to stand in front of a queue. After that, there is a security guard again checking all your bills and things like that. So it's a very tedious process, right? That's how typical supermarket works. But what Amazon did is they brought in artificial intelligence technologies to a retail shop, like a supermarket, right? And then completely changed the way how shopping is being done, how a supermarket shopping is being done. I just want to play a video. It's just 1.5 minutes video. I hope you will enjoy this. I'm sure many of you have seen this video already, but I just want to show you, for people who are not seen, how Amazon is bringing artificial intelligence capability into a retail shop. Enjoy the video.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
So this is an amazing transformation that Amazon is bringing to the world, that how AI can really transform, the retail shopping, right? So you're seeing computer vision, deep learning, sensor fusion, facial recognition. All these are technologies powered by artificial intelligence, transforming the retail industry, right? So Amazon is leveraging that capability, and you will start shopping in these kind of shops very, very soon, right? And you will see that not only the retail showroom, but also the cars, the automobile industry is again going to be transforming with the help of artificial intelligence. Driverless cars, there are different names like autonomous car, smart car, driverless car, and so on. This car is completely driven by artificial intelligence. It is not driven by a driver, right? It is driven by artificial intelligence, where the sensors, the cameras will take the data in real time, and then AI algorithms and technologies in the background, which will help the car to be driven, right? So this will know when to stop, when to take left, when to increase the speed, when to apply a brake. So when to maintain the car, when it has to be sent for service. So all the things will be known by this car itself, intelligent car, right? So again, artificial intelligence is coming into picture, and you will see these kind of artificial intelligence cars manufactured in factories, which are again powered by artificial intelligence. There will be no human on the floors in the factory. the cars will be manufactured by robots, intelligent robots. And especially if you see in this picture, there is no human being on the floor. The car is completely assembled and manufactured by intelligent robots. So very, very interestingly, recently, China started building AI powered roads, AI enabled roads. So the smart cars will be manufactured by smart factories, like AI enabled factories. And these smart cars will be running on AI enabled roads. The roads will be having AI on it. So that automatically the traffic signals can be managed, right? And traffic itself can be managed based on the traffic congestions or the density on the road. So AI roads where AI cars will run, and where you will see these cars will be manufactured by AI factories. So manufacturing industry, automobile industry, retail industry, travel industry, all these things are now transforming with the help of AI. And today, AI is being adopted across multiple organizations, whether it's in the drug discovery, the medicine research and development, drugs research and development, health diagnosis, customer service, facial recognition, and even unmanned aerial vehicles like drones and self-flying flights. So the Facebook example already told about the facial recognition. In Dubai, if you go, there is a smart immigration counter. So if you're traveling international to international destinations, you don't have to go through the traditional migration checks and all the interviews and things like that. The smart gate will automatically clear your application and the entry, because the smart gate is again powered by artificial intelligence. It will do facial recognition, it will do a video surveillance, it will do a lot of things with the help of AI to clear your immigration. So you will see these kind of things coming very, very aggressively to every aspect of our life. Now today in the sports and games industry, players are selected with the help of AI. It is not just somebody handpicking some 12 people for a cricket team. So it is about an AI system that will help the selectors to predict who will perform in various conditions, so that you can choose that player, so that player will be able to get the best performance so that the team can win. Whether it is in the hockey, whether it is in the tennis, whether it is in the cricket, AI is being used to select team players. Courts in the judiciary, courts will use AI to predict whether somebody will do more crimes if he is allowed to go for a bail or on a parole, right? Today, movie industry is already using artificial intelligence to create more stories, AI stories. Even traditional industries like oil and gas is using AI and machine learning to predict where and when they should be having the maximum production, how they can prevent any failures in their larger engineering units, right? So you see AI coming across various aspects of life, and even into animals today. So even animals are going to be having a smart chip implanted to their body, which can collect data in real time, and it can predict when this animal is going to have some issue, or when it has to have medication, or how much production it will have. A lot of intelligence can be built out of these smart chips. So AI is going to be anywhere and everywhere, right? So you will see this is coming into our own homes, and many things what you're seen in the old movies like a robot or Ex Machina, or some of these are sci-fi movies, right? Many things what you are seeing here in these movies are getting reality today. So for example, I just want to show you about some example how that's getting into reality. Now I'm sure all of you have access to, right, one male and female. Interestingly, so one of these pictures what you see on the screen is created by artificial intelligence. It's not a real picture. Which one it is the male picture or the female picture? Can you put your response into the chat window, please? Which one is not the real picture? One of the pictures is created by artificial intelligence. Is it male or female? So thank you so much for your response. So half of you believe that it is male. Male picture is not the real picture, and I'm assuming half of you are thinking it is the female picture, right? So interestingly, whether you believe it or not, both the pictures are not real. Both the pictures are created by artificial intelligence. This is not the picture of real human beings. See how AI can create so natural photograph of people which are, who are not even real, right? So this technology can today is being leveraged in so many areas. In the surgeries, people who wanted to do gender transition or transformation. So there are so many areas this technology can be used. Today, movie industry uses this capability to create, artificial celebrities. So the story is written by an AI engine. The music is composed by an AI engine. The stars, the celebrities, the actors and actresses created by artificial intelligence engine, right? So movie industry, for example, is you can see how much they are leveraging AI into the picture, right? So you will see it is not only in the movie industry, in the real estate, in the legal and the judiciary, in the retail, telecom, everywhere. And it is the industry has gone ahead and created not only just the photos and videos, but they started creating even artificial human being, the digital humans, which is again powered by artificial intelligence. So 2-3 years back in Saudi Arabia, Sophia got a citizenship. Sophia is a robot, but intelligent robot. So what is the technology behind it? It is nothing but artificial intelligence. So you will see in the future, you will be working with these kind of intelligent robots like Sophia, which is again built and supported and enabled and powered by artificial intelligence. I just want to play a video where this robots, intelligent robots like Sophia, can take different size and shapes. It's not necessarily always looking like a human being. Okay, I just want to play a very simple, very another interesting, powerful video that how AI can take different sizes and shapes and still solve very, very complex problem, right? So Volvo is a big company. Volvo, I'm sure all of you know Volvo, right? So Volvo built an intelligent HR manager who can conduct interviews. I'm going to play a very, very interesting video that you will see how Volvo is using an AI-based HR recruitment manager.
Welcome, Oliver. Glad to see you put on your blue shirt for the interview.
Yes, indeed. You're welcome.
Are you feeling stressed?
Just a bit, you know.
Please allow me to play some piano music to make you feel more comfortable.
I feel a bit better now, thank you.
Glad to hear that. Tell me, why should I hire you?
I've been passionate about courses I'm a boy.
Okay, let's do a little test. Can you show me where my electric compressor is?
Sure. Here.
Perfect. Can you explain how my 360-degree camera... I think I'm going to keep you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
See how not only just industries but even various domains like HR, finance, supply chain is also leveraging AI to their core functions to help them, right? So HR managers are going to be replaced by intelligent HR systems powered by again artificial intelligence, right? So very, very interestingly, during this pandemic, many companies started leveraging AI to solve complex problems. There's a company in Japan called Donut Robotics, created a smart mask with the help of AI, which can solve a very complex problem. Imagine that during the pandemic lockdown, you are in a different country and you don't know the local language. How will you communicate with the local people, right? So this company specifically developed a mask which can translate 8 languages in real time, still function like a mask. So the capability used behind the solution is nothing but artificial intelligence. So you will hear about or you will learn about natural language processing, natural language understanding, natural language generation, text engineering, text analytics. So these are all powered by artificial intelligence to solve complex problems like this. So AI is coming into rescue when you are stranded in a different region where you don't know the language. And the same capability is being leveraged by a company in China, a media company in China, where they launched an AI anchor, a news reader who can read news in English, where in China you know that English speaking population is very less, so they wanted to have someone who can speak English news 24/7. So they developed an AI anchor. It's not a real anchor, it's an AI like Sophia, right? So you will see this kind of AI systems being adopted across industries, across domains, across regions, right? So this even aeroplanes will be using AI in the engine to ensure that you are landing safe. So police departments are using AI to predict who is going to commit what crime and when, right? Amazon, I already told you about examples, right? To even today, when you're logging into Amazon, you will see hundreds of different recommendations, varied recommendation for each one of you. Again, it is AI, right? Parcel companies are using AI to predict, when they should be sending logistics, when they should who should be driving their cars, which route they should be taking. So they will be deciding all these things based on the AI intelligence. McDonald's is using AI to understand what kind of products their customers like. Engine manufacturing companies like Rolls-Royce using AI to understand when their engines are going to be failing, or they are going to predict when this engine is going to fail or not, right? So there are hundreds of examples where AI is coming into oil and gas companies, even restaurants and hotels, and even in our own homes. You will see AI doctors. You might have heard about family doctors, right? You will have your own family doctor in your own home, but it will be a robotic doctor, AI doctor, who will give you personalized medical health recommendations, right? So again, powered by artificial intelligence. And you will start living in smart homes, completely powered by AI. You will have smart TVs, smart refrigerators, smart lighting systems, smart doors, smart ACs, smart vacuum cleaners, smart, everything will be smart, right? It's nothing but AI. So I just want to play a very small video just to show you how a smart home looking like, where in the back end everything will be controlled by AI based systems.
Play jazz.
Playing jazz.
Smoothie.
Making smoothie.
Calendar.
No meetings today. Remember, tandläkare at 9:30.
Fire off.
Fire off.
Open door.
Door open.
Sånn. Så skal vi sette en til.
Ja. Open door.
Wrong voice command.
Open door.
Wrong voice command.
Open door.
Repeat that.
Open door.
I didn't understand that.
Hey, open door.
Play on the floor.
Get over the floor. Open the door.
Wrong
Open the door.
Error.
Hey, there. With a rock. Open door. Open door. Higher.
Higher volume.
Higher.
Higher.
So what you're seeing is an interesting, funny video. The first half is a very good example how a smart home looking like, where everything is controlled and powered by artificial intelligence. The second half is obviously a humorous side of the video, just to make the fun out of this. But eventually, that's how the reality, right? So what you've seen so far is various examples, various developments with the help of AI being adopted across multiple industries, multiple domains across the world, whether it is in your house, whether it is in your office, whether it is in the government, whether it is in large industry segments, whether it is in a PlayStation, whether it is in your social life, you will see AI coming into picture. Now, with all these digital systems, huge amount of data is coming up. Now, the most interesting question that you need to ask is that, who is building all this AI system? It's all people like you and me. That is where the opportunity. Huge amount of data, and you have hundreds of AI systems to be built and managed. That is the opportunity for all of you. That quantification of the large volume of data to make meaningful intelligence decisions and insights, and making these smart systems. Huge amount of opportunities are there. Crores of job opportunities in the field of analytics and AI. That is what the opportunity for all of you, if you're going to be skilled in this one. But how do you get that opportunity? I have a simple mantra which I share in all the conferences. whether it is in a college, whether it's in a large industry conference, I share this because it is applicable to me and also applicable to you. If you need to be relevant, if you need to really utilize this opportunity, we need to do two things as per my understanding. So one mantra, the first mantra is learn, unlearn, and relearn. The second mantra is skill, upskill, and reskill. So if you're able to learn your domain, various analytics and AI concepts, if you're able to relearn and unlearn and relearn, if you're able to develop your skill, upskill, and reskill in some of these areas, you will have hundreds of amazing opportunities out there. There are thousands of opportunities across the world, as Varun already mentioned. So his company is going to be the largest analytics recruitment company in the world, or especially in India, right? So huge amount of opportunities out there. So wish you all the very best to have a very amazing and fruitful career in analytics and AI. Thank you so much for patiently listening to me, and I hope the session was useful. Happy to take any questions at the end of the session. Thank you so much, and over to you, Varun. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Philip, for this wonderful session. And I think everybody loved the video, especially when the guy gets locked out after having a dental, after going to the dentist. So thank you. I think this is very, very nice. So this is for you, Philip. A round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
So guys, Philip is a thought leader, in AI, in applied AI. He works for Accenture, of course, coming in his personal capacity, and all of us, all the students, have really learned a lot and really enjoyed all the video pieces that you put together, Philip. So thank you so much. Now, guys, the next in line, the next speaker that we have, for today is Kaukab Inayat. So Kaukab is a data scientist. He works at Citrix. He's earlier worked with companies like Walmart Labs and Amazon. So again, a senior practitioner in the world of AI and data. And we'll hear from Kaukab, regarding how is AI driving the world, and more interestingly, Kaukab, we'd be excited to learn about how AI is driving Amazon. And we see Amazon, which is a very small company, now worth trillions of dollars, and really creating impact around the world with the multiple businesses. Just to sort of give a context. So I'm an alumni of Harvard Business School, and one of the case studies that we had at Harvard was Amazon. And one of the things that we learn in our strategy classes is that an important part of strategy is knowing what not to do, right? So an important part of strategy is knowing what not to do. But Amazon does everything and still does it all right. How does that really work? And of course, that comes in from a lot of network effects that Amazon creates, a lot of ecosystems that Amazon creates. And guys, so over to you, Kaukab. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, thank you, Varun. Thank you, Varun, sir, for introducing.
So you have like the Amazon bookstore as a background.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm not representing anyone. I'm representing myself in my individual capacity, and everything is publicly available. So yeah. Amazon is really no more just e-commerce. They are a studio. They are making movies. They are, now Jeff Bezos is also launching rockets. So they are everywhere. And yeah, there are peculiar culture, and the one thing, the word that I used is the peculiar. Like they really encourage being someone peculiar, being unique. So yeah. So jumping onto the topic of artificial intelligence and data science. As a AI and data science practitioner, people deal with on a day-to-day basis with models, mean, F1, artificial synthetic deviation. These are some of the fun terms that we use in AI, and yeah, they do mean other things in actual world. Pooling, matching. So these are some of the words that we deal in our day-to-day work. Hope now I have the attention of the young generation Z with all these words. So now, so let's see how the artificial intelligence drives organization. And I will be giving brief overview of artificial intelligence also. So because artificial intelligence is not only about computer vision, it's also about a lot of things. So the agenda here is like, what is artificial intelligence, big AI centric applications like, let's say, Alexa, and how do we use in AI in business, like shopping, movies, dating, web attacks, how do we do that? So artificial intelligence is about problem solving. Like any intelligence is about problem solving, be it human or be it anyone, is about problem solving. How, whether I am saying someone, whether I'm speaking, it's an intelligence. I'm teaching my 3-year-old to speak full sentences, and he's slowly grabbing that. That's an intelligence. And now I want the computer to do the same. So that's what is like, from human intelligence to artificial intelligence. And one of the key aspect of artificial intelligence is decision making. Like, okay, whether this thing is a cat or a dog, I'm making a decision. Whether I am using a past tense or future tense, that's a decision making. Why am I speaking that way? That's a decision making. And that's what intelligence is about. Let's say tomorrow is the exam, whether I study in the night or I do not study in the night, that's an intelligence, like whether it is a smart move or not. So all this decision making, and how do we make this decision? We make this decision based on the experience that we have, based on the learnings that we take from our experience. Like, let's say, so data science and artificial intelligence, they all go hand in hand. Data science is more about the process, like how do I collect the data, how do I store the data, and how do I extract the knowledge from it. And then artificial intelligence is about how do I use it. I will go more in details in next slide. There are a few more buzzwords related with the artificial intelligence, like, let's say, econometrics and explainable artificial intelligence. So econometrics is quite an old field where we say, like, hey, if the country's GDP is going high, then what is the reason? Why is the GDP going high? Because suddenly the education rate is high. That kind of study we do, and which is quite common in artificial intelligence, because we want to make decision. And this is so we measure which are the factors that are impacting, and we make our systems take decisions based on those factors. So these are the things which go hand in hand with artificial intelligence. Currently, we also have explainable artificial intelligence is coming up. The reason being, I cannot trust a computer just blindly. Why should I trust? If my computer is saying something, why should I believe that decision? If my neural network is saying that, okay, this has been translated and this is the translated word, why should I believe that? So now it's about also making the AI inference trustable. And how can I? So let's say if my artificial intelligence is saying that this picture is of a penguin. So why am I saying that it is a penguin? Why does that system is saying that penguin? And this is how a simple explanation can look like, can fly or not. And so yeah, this is a very cartoonish example, but that's what we are looking from artificial intelligence to tell us why is it saying that it is a penguin. So I took some big names, econometrics and other things. So they might look like, hey, this is a tough math and all. So I just want to present a simple video. Like, okay, econometrics also deals with, let's say, game theory. It looks like a tough math. So I just want to play. I mean, even though the words are big in artificial intelligence word, like you will hear a lot of mathematical terms. The intent of this video is the underlying concepts are very simple. So this is game theory. And it is very well explained in the movie called Beautiful Mind. So this is a short clip from there.
Deep breath. Nash, you were going to stop shuffling your papers for 5 seconds.
Not buy you gentlemen beer.
Oh, we're not here for beer, my friend.
Gentlemen, I feel she should be moving in slow motion.
Does she want a large wedding, you think? Should we say swords, gentlemen? Pistols at dawn.
Have you remembered nothing? Recall the lessons of Adam Smith, the father of modern economics.
In competition, individual ambition serves the common good.
Exactly.
Every man for himself, gentlemen. Yeah, and those who strike out are stuck with their friends.
I'm not going to strike out.
You can lead a blonde to water, but you can't make a drink.
I don't think he said
All right, nobody move. She's looking overhead. Right, she's looking at Nash.
All right, he may have the upper hand now. We'll wait till he opens his mouth.
Oh, yeah, that was the history book.
All right, he may have the upper hand now. We'll wait till he opens his mouth.
Oh, yeah, that was the history book. 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 Oh,
Adam Smith needs revision.
What are you talking about?
If we all go for the blonde. We block each other. Not a single one of us is going to get him. So then we go for our friends. But they will all give us the cold shoulder because nobody likes to be second choice. But what if no one goes for the blonde? We don't get in each other's way. And we don't insult the other girls. That's the only way we win. That's the only way we all get laid.
So, I mean, yeah, that was a short video about like what game theory and Nash equilibrium, like market competition and all that. So these are small concepts which we see in the real world and that we quantify in terms in our world, in artificial intelligence for making decision. How do I compete with someone? And how should artificial intelligence compete with the next artificial intelligence? So yeah, these are simple concepts. The whole motive is like, they are not scary. They are simple real world, which we view in the world. That's what we are trying to achieve from the artificial intelligence. One of the key aspects of the artificial intelligence or data science is the knowledge representation. So, I mean, knowledge representation can be seen something as a Newton's law of motion or discovery of gravity. Like when Newton gave an equation, force equal to mass into gravity, mass into acceleration, he did a lot of observation and experiment, and he gave that this formula. Now, when some object is falling from the sky, I do not have to go and look at some dictionary like, hey, if this is the mass, what will be the velocity? I have the formula and I can calculate the velocity with the equation. And that's the short representation of the knowledge. So many experiments, so many observations, and that one line of equation is the knowledge representation. And that's what artificial intelligence is trying to do. It tries to learn the experience, which it has been doing in a very short and compact format. Like, I do not remember like when I was told when I was a kid that, okay, this is a cat. All the lessons I do not remember from my childhood that, okay, this is a cat because it meows, this is a cat because it has fur. But somehow I have that inbuilt in my mind that, okay, whenever I see cat, I can recognize that cat because that compact structure representation is there in my brain, and I do not remember all the lessons that I have taken. I remember the concept. So that's what artificial intelligence is about, representing the data in a smaller compact format that I can reuse for making decision. So a sample human, what decisions we do make? What is that person's name? I see a person suddenly and I try to know, okay, have I seen him before? What is that person's name? I'm making a decision, a human decision. How much pizza should I order if I am giving a party? This is a decision I'm making, a human decision. What should I watch on Netflix? Okay, today is Saturday night. What should I watch today? And should I ask her out? Something like that. That's a decision I'm making. And now artificial intelligence is helping us in making that decision. And the key aspect here is artificial intelligence is not about replacing humans. It's more about doing certain things where we might lack. Like because of the sheer power of the computer, they might do it better and at faster speed. So they're not replacing jobs. They're more about creating new opportunities. Like there was no Alexa, there was no Google Home, and that product came in. So it's also creating opportunities rather than replacing humans. So it's doing things which we are not very fast at. And these are the things that I will be talking about, like how much should I order, like the quantity forecasting. Some of the big names like Facebook, like some of the big names to remember, like Facebook is investing heavily in artificial intelligence for facial recognition, for video recognition. Like, okay, what object is being shown in the video, what object is being shown in the what picture is being uploaded, that kind of questions, and whether it is a cat or a dog. So Facebook is heavily investing in artificial intelligence, and it helps. Like their goal is that if a match is happening and if that commentary can happen automatically, that's their desire to reach. Like it can automatically detect, okay, it is a ball, it is what thing is moving, and it can describe as a general commentator. So that's their goal, and that's where they are working slowly, and they're making a lot of progress. Similarly, in the previous presentation, we talked about translation. So there are a lot of architects. Google is working on translation and a lot of other things where computers are learning to translate from one language to the other language. So a lot of machine learning, artificial intelligence concepts goes there. And even if we have to talk with alien, as shown in this movie, one will have to translate their language if that happens. So we already know about the Amazon Go from the previous slide. So this is like AWS Translate. Amazon provides it's a publicly available. There are APIs which provides for translating from one language to other language. It has a lot of good features. It's not only about translating from one language, it can automatically detect the language also, and then it can translate. And it's very helpful when you are like dealing in business setting, like you are traveling to other countries. It's very helpful. So, and we can create our own applications just by calling this API. I will skip the video in the interest of the time. So we all are aware. So now let's get a bit deeper. So conversational AI is that like I'm talking with my Alexa. I'm talking with my Google Home. I'm asking, hey, what is the date today? Can you turn on the light? Can you do this? So that's where the world is going, and a lot of artificial intelligence is going on. Where the data, if you see the data on the right side question, it's text data. It's a book. And that's how it is extracting the knowledge. The same way we humans, we study the book and we extract and store that concept in our mind. So that's what is happening there. And yeah, that's the kind of network, the model that finally goes in the behind. This is publicly available sequence to sequence long kind of algorithm that goes behind that. And don't worry, 1 year after this, after being in the AI field, you will be able to understand all this thing, what is going on. So this looks fancy, it's all good graphical representation. As an AI practitioner, I will also say like few big names that we should be aware of, like Andrew Ng, Ian Goodfellow, Jan LeCun. So these are some of the good, the big names in the field of artificial intelligence. Ian Goodfellow is from Apple, Jan LeCun is from Facebook, and Andrew Ng opened his company called Coursera, and he has been doing a lot of other initiatives also. A few other organizations that you can follow in your course of studies, ACM and IEEE, they provide a lot of good articles around what's happening latest in the industry. So a few examples. So as I gave you an example, like, hey, how much pizza am I going to order? So that's what, like, I need to predict the future. Hey, today in the evening there is a party, and there are 10 people going to come. So how much should I order, and which kind of pizza I'm going to order? So this is human decision. And now the same thing, any business has to, like, how much quantity I should store, and how much should at what price I should sell it. So that's the kind of decision that organizations have to make. What's going on, and that's why they employ artificial intelligence, because things get complex. So it's not just how many people are going to buy, it's also there are a lot of other factors like pricing. What is going to be the price of the product? What is going to be the price of the product? And price does impact the sales. So what should be the price, and how does it impact? So it's a big butterfly kind of effect kind of world, where a small change makes a big change. So, yeah, when you will go advanced to your course, you will learn some of the equations that looks like this. Simple class 10 maths, like coordinate geometry, like, okay, this is a linear, this is a quadratic, or this is a non-linear functions. And that's how we are representing our demand and sales. Just included this slide just to have an idea what the world looks like. Now, this is where, like, I'm saying, like, okay, as I mentioned, pricing of one item can impact the pricing of other item. Like, let's say Pepsi and Coca is there. Suddenly, if the Pepsi drops the price, then definitely a lot of people from the Coca-Cola are going to start buying Pepsi because price is important, and that's how the demand changes. So how much quantity is going to be sold depends on the price. And this is again a concept of game theory, which we say, like, okay, red bus, blue bus problem, or a cake. Like, let's say there is a cake and there are two people. If one person eats more, then the other person is going to eat less. So that's the simple concept. If one person is lowering the price, the share of that, the people are going to transfer from that to the other person. So these are the small variables that play the effect into the forecasting, like how much am I going to sell this item today or tomorrow based on the pricing. So It depends on a lot of other factors. So it not only depends on my price, it also depends on the like other competition price also, like what the competition is selling it for. So there are a lot of other variables that decide how much quantity I'm going to sell. And that's where AI helps in predicting. Then there is a publicly available stories are available in US, like someone that people saw a strange behavior that every time someone went to buy a diaper, there was a strong association that someone is also buying a beer. Why, or a drink? Why is he doing that? So there was a strong association, and that came out from the data. Similarly, in US, you will see, like, let's say someone is buying chips, then they are also buying salsa, which is like a ketchup. So, so if I decrease the price of chips, I can actually increase the price of salsa, because if someone has bought chips, they are going to buy salsa. So these are the tricks and trades many people, many players in this field do with that. And all this data we extract from the data. This intelligence that we gather, we extract from the data that, okay, people are buying this and this. So as I talked, using all these variables like the competition, what are the competition, what are the complementary effect, what is the holiday, what is the seasonality. There are a lot of algorithms are there. Some of the latest algorithms are in the field of, you will learn as recurrent neural network, which are employed in various organizations for predicting the sales, like, okay, how much quantity I am going to say. Sell. So regression is the very basic algorithm that we start with, and slowly it goes on to the deep learning models that we employ for predicting the sales. I mean, imagine what all factors are. How do we catch the signal to impact the, like, suddenly we, from the social media, we capture that, hey, some local event is happening at some university, and we know that, okay, suddenly there will be more sales of the chips or something, and we go and supply to that location that kind of inventory. So there are a lot of signals that we capture, and artificial intelligence and data science helps in making us decision and being prepared for the upcoming events. So kind of we are looking into the future, time traveling. Now, when I'm talking about data science, there are a lot of things that goes. I'm studying the behavior of human. I'm studying how to model that. I'm also studying how does a person will take there are a lot of fields in the data science and artificial intelligence. One of the field is also visualization. How do I visualize the final end result so that it's very it makes a person make a decision very fast. So once you progress the course, you will also look at, like, okay, visualization is also one of the important field, and quite creative field, and something to focus on. Next topic is about the recommendation system, which is like, if you go to Amazon and if you watch a movie, then they say, like, hey, this is the next movie that you want to watch. And I mean, imagine how Amazon understands, like, okay, this is the movie that is good for this person. That can be a bit creepy for some person. How does Amazon know so much? Not Amazon, like any Netflix or anything like Disney Hotstar. How do they know so much about me? But it's not that creepy. It's a simple, like, so the way they some of the algorithms that happen to be like, okay, let's say there are a bunch of movies, and if I rated some of the movies as which I liked. So what they do, I'm not the only person in the universe. There are a lot of other people who are watching the movies, and it's quite easy to find the person who is similar to me. And then based on that, okay, this person also watched this movie, which I have not yet watched. So they will recommend, hey, this is the movie that you will like it. And because that's where the matching happens, and then we say that, okay, this worked out fine. So this is how the recommendation system works, and it's quite intelligent. That's where the intelligence comes, like, how do I understand the behavior of the person? So it's more about matching the person with the immense customer base that we have. Like, there's definitely going to be the common person in terms of watching behavior. Going a bit forward, movie side, it's not only like about matching with the user, it's also about extracting the taste. So when I like movie, maybe I like certain kind of movie. Maybe I like movies which have drama, which have like concepts of action. And when I am selecting that, how do I know that what is the rating or what is the taste of this person? Using the data, it can be shown, you will study that we can actually extract the taste what is the taste of this person. And let's say in this example, we show that some people like romantic movies, some people like science fiction movies. And using the data, running simple algorithms, we can extract that information, which can often be mapped to real world concepts, or it might not be, but many times it can be mapped to the real world concepts. So this is what the data science is offering. And using that, people can again recommend, hey, this guy has more association with the sci-fi movie, so I should recommend him more of a sci-fi movie. Now, when I'm talking about knowledge representation, so in terms of natural language processing, what progress we have made is like, let's see this slide where what we did here. This is a Google's blog, publicly available. What they did is like they fed the text, just some textbook to the algorithm, nothing, just read this textbook in certain way. And the algorithm was able to create this representation that China is associated with Beijing, Russia is associated with Moscow. This is the kind of relationship that is there. So all the countries are on one side and all the capitals are on one side and cities are on one side. And it was able to learn on its own. And that's where the beauty comes of the machine learning, on learning on its own, representing the knowledge. And using this knowledge, one can make decisions, a lot of other decisions. That's where I'm coming next. So similar to this, there are concepts in machine learning which extended this concept, like what the person is going, how different objects are associated with the different objects. So if someone is buying a chair, he might buy a table. That's the kind of recommendation which we might be looking. And similar to this representation, the machine learning scientists were able to create the algorithm that, okay, if someone is buying this item, then he's also going to buy this item most probably, or that is a complementary item. That's the relationship between chair and table. That's the association between mouse and computer. So that's the kind of association the machine learning scientists have been able to create using the data. And some of them are, I mean, this is one of the bit complicated recommendation systems like product2vec, which people will get familiar as they progress in this course. And this is quite interesting. And I will say, don't get with all this architecture. Once you have spent 1 year in this field, you will understand what it is saying. But it is good to know what is happening and what kind of architecture is out there. Some fun stuff. I mean, AI in dating, it's quite common in US. Like this guy, he's a mathematician, Chris McKinley. He created a machine learning algorithm from a dating website just to find the partner he wants to marry, so that there is a compatibility factor. Facebook is using that. And there are a lot of studies around that, like what is the impact of mobile, and if I change certain features on the mobile, how does that impact the human behavior? So AI is finding application in the fields that in every field, I can say. Now, some of the work like copywriter, I will say, like when we see an advertisement, there are certain punch words that are being said. That is created by the copywriters, a human. That's a human intelligence going on. And there are companies which are trying to like, hey, can I create a punch word on my own? Can the machines generate the punch word? So that's where the lot of research is going on in this area. So we can mine the social media text, and based on that, there are a lot of algorithms are there, like text rank, part of speech tagging, frequency based, and using that we can actually generate the punchline, like, okay, this is the punchline for this product. This is the punchline for this product. The work that a copywriter has been doing is being done by computers now, by the machine learning algorithm. And this is one of the state-of-art algorithm that has been created by Amazon. It's publicly available, which generates the campaign keyword, like campaign, if I'm promoting something, what should be the keyword for this product? And so imagine machine learning not only saying that this object is an apple, it is also now creating machine learning. So that's where it is going. It is all, the next aim is also that it can write its own fiction novel, which is quite good in reading. Right now it has not gone till yet, but it is now creating the, I will say, campaign keywords, AdWords, the punchline, working as a copywriter. And again, it's more about the world is changing. We do need machine learning because suddenly the volume of items being sold, it's so huge that humans cannot come up with the punchline for all the products. I mean, if imagine the inventory of Flipkart, of Amazon or Walmart. I mean, it is so huge. I mean, how can I employ a person to come up with the punchline for each and every product? So that's where the benefit comes. We always need a subject matter expert who knows the concept of keyword to validate the results. But when the volume is coming, we need machines to do that kind of work. So there will always be need for a human to supervise these kind of outcomes, to assess whether this is a good or not. But it's the sheer volume, the way, I mean, if I look 20 years ago, these many products are not being sold. So how do I mean, gaming, every day some new game is coming, every day the game's narrative is changing. And how do I market, keep on changing my campaign punchline? So it's more about solving the problem of volumetric signals. Like suddenly so many problems are coming of same scenario. How do I solve it? I cannot keep those many people. I do not have those many skilled people right now in the market. And that's where the machine learning is providing its benefit. So as I talked about, like some of the areas in the area of data science, artificial intelligence, it's also about studying human behavior. It's also about how do I put that human behavior into a model. It's also about how do I make decision out of it. It's also about how do I visualize the outcome of it. And visualization is one of the very important role, plays important role when you are presenting something, when you are presenting to the, like, hey, I'm not going to give a complete decision to the artificial intelligence as of now. There is certain aspect of final end goal that I present as a visualize, and then the C-suite people or vice president people take the decision. So visualization is an important part of artificial intelligence. Some of the visualizations that can be seen is like this. Here we are showing some visualization of the cyber threats representation in terms of graph and some distributions. So one needs to be creative how to represent these kind of data in a meaningful and attractive way. Similarly, how do I visualize certain sales? That can also be done here. And this is the sample model building. Like, let's say it's not always about writing Python code. Sometimes model building can be simple drag and drop. This is an example of drag and drop, where even I have created a neural network just by dragging and dropping. The modeling is happening. And the world is moving more towards this kind of solution. Not only ML, the world is moving towards auto ML, the auto machine learning, where you don't even have just drag and drop one box and it will automatically select the best model and give you the output. So world is moving towards that direction. Microsoft is making products towards that. AWS is making products towards that. And probably Google is also doing, Google is also making products towards that. And these all are publicly available APIs are there for AutoML. So and machine learning is already about automating, and now we are further automating that. Like even the model building process, we are trying to automate that. And that's where the human touch goes. Like, how do I automate that? Humans touch, it's not that it's going to replace us. We are going to dictate how does it automate. So nothing so scary as often shown in movies. Some of the other field, market research, like you also want to study what kind of customer base is there. So I think Varun sir talked about unsupervised learning. So yeah, I mean, you want to understand your customer, like what kind of customers are there. Some customers are big spenders, they are spending a lot of money. Some customers are spending like they are frequent customers. So you classify that, it's a bit unsupervised. So that kind of work is also is being carried out by artificial intelligence. There are a lot of methods. You will study about segmenting the customer, segmenting the products. So that helps in like how do you target them. So defining the entire Indian population in terms of different segments, like someone is techie, someone is not techie, that kind of thing. So that's all I had. If you have any questions, do let me know. And from the slide, I mean, this is the question that I had.
Okay, so thank you so much, Kaukab, and I've put up your question on the poll. Really appreciate your time. So some of the students were intimidated, overwhelmed with all the neural networks and visualizations that you had shown. But guys, students, I know it looks complicated, but that is the agenda. That's why it takes you a few years to really get there, right? If it was very easy, everybody would have been an AI engineer. There are going to be challenges, and of course, what we're going to be doing, at the university with the program, and even as you graduate out to be a working professional in AI and analytics, a lot of learning, that you would have to really get ready, for this world to really help change the world. So thank you so much, Kaukab. Really appreciate your time and the insights that you've provided. A round of applause for you here. So, and guys, I've rolled out the poll here, and before Kaukab signs off, let's see what is. I've rolled out a poll. Everybody should respond to the poll. Of course, the clue, the hint is it was covered in Kaukab's session. For those who are awake, so let's see what we've got, right? So, guys, quickly respond to the poll. I'm closing the poll now. Guys, before we call it a day, we have Yashin, who's an expert in Python, expert in the world of data analytics, data science. He would be taking your Python sessions, right? So now we showed you all the big picture, right? The good things, the things that you could make with AI and how it is actually made, with all those algorithms and models. Tomorrow onwards, we're going to be starting, with sessions on Python. So every Sunday, starting tomorrow for the next 5 weeks, you're going to have, a boot camp on Python where you actually get hands-on on coding. So Yashin would help you set the context. He would set the expectations in terms of the system configurations that we need, and also that, you need to download Python, which of course, Yashin would help you do. But, I'm going to close this poll now and, let us see. So Kaukab, you want to take a shot at this? Which personalities are related in the field of AI?
Yeah, sure. So, I had given names like Andrew Ng, Ian Goodfellow, Jan LeCun is not there. And then Rajiv Rastogi is, he's heading the India Amazon AI team. So these are some of the big names in AI. And yeah, it's really nice to follow their work. It will really keep you updated. So.
Nice, very nice, very nice. Great. Thank you. Thanks, Kaukab, and over to you, Yashin.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you. And you guys know what is the biggest challenge when you come for teaching? To take the last session, man, because you know that it's very tough to take a session after lunch, and it's really a teacher's nightmare to take a session which is going to be in the last end of the day, right? So I'll try my best to keep your spirits really high. Okay, so welcome students. I am really happy that I'm going to be your teacher for your next 10 sessions for Python. Okay, so flavors of Python, as they put it. So we're going to be starting from real basics of Python. Okay, we're going to build small building blocks on what is Python, why Python, and then why do we prefer Python over the other languages, and what is the relationship between Python and data science, right? And we are going to be concentrating primarily on the stepping stones or the brick stones of Python, and how is it closely related to data science, and what are its uses for on the data science field, right? Okay, so let's get the context right. So there are only two expectations in the call today that I wanted to do for the next 5-10 minutes. First thing first, I want to understand the people that we're going to have for the next 10 sessions, right? So the audience, please let me know. Can you show a raise of hand? How many of you guys have already done Python in any form? The count is increasing. Okay, so it's hovering somewhere around 150 to 160. Okay, so I'll take that number. Okay, sounds good. Okay, yeah, I'm asking you only Python. Okay, so if you're done anything on C, C++ or something, that's going to be my follow-up question. Okay, so please lower your hands, please. Okay, thank you. Please lower your hands. Okay, sounds good. Perfect. Okay, now, how many of you guys have done some kind of programming in any language, be C, C++, or Java, anything? Obviously, that includes the guys who have already done Python. So I should get a number which is going to be more than 150 for sure. So we're looking at somewhere around 250. Okay, so if I'm going to take around 750 odd people, students, and 250 is going to be like 1/4 at least, right? So even 1/3 at least, right? So that's a good number. Okay, so 1/3 of the people, no, HTML is not counted. So C, C++, or Java. Okay, so I'll take that number as 250. Okay, so please understand that though this number is looking really big, there's a whole lot of around close to 2/3 of the students, which is going to be a huge number of 500 students who have not done any kind of programming, who's also going to be part of this course system, right? So we are going to be starting from as basic as possible, right? So please take into note that you're going to have a mix of students in the class. So if you're probably done Python, or if you're already learning Python on the sidelines, probably it might be sounding repetitive, or you might probably be a refresher course for you in the first 3-4 sessions. So, but probably I think from the 3rd session or the 4th session, you should be able to pick it up, right? So you'll be able to jump onto something new and exciting for you, right? For people who are starting off with Python, who have already done C, C++, and Java. Okay, so if it's going to be a relatively easy transition from one of the programming languages to Python, so you'll be able to interpret what you do in one of those programming languages and how is it being done in Python, right? So the transition is going to be relatively easy for you guys. Okay, so for people who are 250 minus 150, so those 100 folks who have done some kind of programming languages, don't worry, you should be able to do a good job at it. Okay. So for people who are going to be really intimidated and who are going to be really scared that, oh my God, there are close to 200, 250 of them who have done some kind of programming before. So I have not done anything. Okay. So how will I be able to cope up with these guys, right? So if it's going to make things easier for you, I'll tell you something. Okay. So I did my bachelor's in chemical engineering. Okay, so I was a graduate from BITS and I graduated out as a chemical engineer. Okay, but I knew right away after the college that chemical engineering was not my cup of tea. So I was not going to do that, right? So till I passed out from my engineering college, I didn't write a single line of code. Okay, so then I started off with my job. So I landed up with Infosys. And that was my first job, and I was completely new to software engineering, right? So, and I started off with basics of C and SQL at that point of time. I struggled, right? And then I've surveyed through the industry without even learning Python for almost close to 6, 7 years, 8 years in the industry. So all that I knew was C, Java, and SQL, right? And then sometime way back in 2012, 13, I started getting into Python, and now Python has been my go-to language for anything and everything. Okay, so all that I want from you is an honest effort. Okay, so my sincere request is that if you guys are not done any programming language, it doesn't mean that you will not be able to get into Python, get into any kind of coding. All that it needs is an honest effort from your side, right? So you should be ready to unlearn and learn new things. Okay, the things will get tougher. What I normally see is that people you have this 30-day rule, right? When you are able to follow something for 30 days, then it becomes a habit. But the problem is that most of the people quit after the 10th day or the 12th day, right? So taking it a transition from the 10th day to the 30th day is going to be a huge ask from your side. So that is going to be something that you have to do. No one can do it for you, right? So there will be times during this learning course where you might probably not be able to follow, not be able to keep up pace with the other people in the class. So don't take that as a discouragement, right? So please reach out to instructors who are teaching you the classes, and please don't mind to get your hands dirty, right? So you need to do your hands-on work, even if it's going to be something that you are not clear about. try to do it on your own. Only then you would be able to do more. So at least spend some 15-20 minutes on starters, increase it to slowly to 30 minutes a day or something, so that it becomes a routine work for you, right? Only then you will be able to get comfortable with the language. Okay, so first part of the expectation is set. As much as I am going to give my effort, I want you guys to give the same kind of an effort from your side. I am going to be able to slow it down my pace. If you feel that if I find that more than 50% of the class is not being able to catch up with it, I'm going to slow down my pace, take them along. Okay, the whole agenda is to get you guys as much as possible information on the basics of Python. Okay, and for people, I'm pretty much sure that there's going to be a 10% of the class who has already done the Python and who wants to learn something on advanced side of the Python. Okay, so I certainly would want to cater to you guys. So what I'll do is I'll certainly work with the team, and I'll probably take how do you use Python for machine learning, right? So I'll probably take the advanced machine learning concepts. I'll certainly be able to arrange something on the advanced sessions, but I will not be able to do it in the initial part of the sessions. I'll probably try to figure it out and find some slots in the last part of it. And that is not going to be completely an optional one for these guys who have been already taking the baby steps into it. Okay, sounds good. Now coming to the second expectation. Awesome. Very good questions. I already see some of the questions. Okay, I'll try to answer some of the questions from your side. Okay, so first question is, yes, the second expectation part is, what are the hardware requirements or the software requirements that you need to have, okay, for the sessions. Okay, so the only operating system that we're going to be using during the session is Windows. So please, I'm not going to be covering the MacBook version of the Python enablement. So please get yourself a Windows. Okay, so right from the installation to the flavor of Python that you're going to have is going to be slightly different on the MacBook. It's going to take a lot of additional time in whatever we have to switch between Windows and MacBook whenever we cover it. So please have a Windows operating system. I'm fine if you're going to have i3 core Intel processor or i4 or i5, it doesn't matter. Okay, so you guys are good. Okay, only thing I would want you to check with is your RAM size should be minimum of 4 GB. Most of the laptops that you have in your market is at least 4 GB RAM. Okay, so how do I find it? Go to the Windows, go to my computer. Okay, and right click, check the properties. You will be able to find what is your RAM size, right? So at least 4 GB is what. And if you're going to have an 8 GB or a 16 GB one, obviously your Python code is going to run faster. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so next one. Okay, next one is going to be, what is the IDE that we're going to use? What is going to be the development environment that we're going to be using for our classes? Okay, there are two main flavors of IDEs which are extensively used for Python. One is PyCharm and another one is Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so PyCharm is primarily used for web development, while Jupyter Notebook is primarily used for data analysis. Okay, so as we are going to be looking into more on data analytics side of it, we'll be using Jupyter Notebook as the preferred IDE for Python sessions. Okay, I will walk you through step by step on what you need to do to how to install and everything. Okay, so the question on Windows installation on MacBook, you can do it, but if you run into issues, please do not expect me to try to troubleshoot it. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, yeah, if you have a 24 GB RAM, I'm jealous of you. Okay, sounds good. So even my office laptop is only 16 GB. So yeah, okay, sounds good, guys. So this is good. So next one is that what is the next steps? Let me just share my screen. Sounds good. So are you able to see the PDF file that I shared? Sounds good. Okay, so I'll be sending across this file to Anamika, and she'll be sharing it to you guys, but I do not want you guys to complete the installation. What happens is that some of them make few small mistakes during the installation that we have to end up the whole of the first 2 sessions trying to troubleshoot them. Okay, so if you're going to do it on your own, then it's onus is on you to end up doing the troubleshooting part of it if you run into any issues. Okay, but I'll certainly be sharing the document to you. It has a step-by-step process of what you need to do for installation of Anaconda, okay, at your system. If you have a problem, please do not go forward after the steps that I have given you. Okay, so what I need you to do is do the first 3-4 steps only. Okay, so go to a link that I've given here. So if you click on this particular link, so you will be taken to this page and you're going to click on download here. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and click on download. Before you download, you need to check what is a if it is a 64-bit system or if it's a 32-bit system type, right? So most of the new laptops that we have are 64-bit, but if someone is having a 32-bit, then don't click on this download. You need to scroll down and you need to find out the one which is for 32-bit. Okay, so now this particular page is clever enough that it automatically detects the 32-bit or 64-bit system type from where I'm accessing the page. So it will automatically tell you the most preferred version of Anaconda which is going to be available. Okay, earlier that I used to get a page which I have to manually go ahead and download the toolkit. Okay, so this is probably the screenshot which was probably some 4 or 5 months or probably a year back, but now I think we are having a better one. So go ahead and download this one, same link though. So earlier it was 64-bit, 32-bit. You need to pick and choose. You do not have to do that. You can go ahead and click on download. The moment you click on download, you will have an exe file which will be downloaded in your system. Okay, so allow this file to download and leave it in your system. Okay, all that I'm asking you is I'm bringing you the place. Okay, so I have pinged you the link of the page. So please do it. And what I want you to do is go ahead and click on download. Okay, and get the file downloaded into your system. So this document is going to be having the other steps as well. Okay, but it's up to you. If you want to go ahead and do the remaining steps and ensure that you are going to have the Anaconda installed, if you're confident enough, go ahead and do it. But if you're new to handling systems, or if you're new to installing any Pandas or Jupyter Notebook or Python, I would recommend you that wait for the class tomorrow. I'll do it along with you. I'll pick one of your students' laptop to share your screen and I'll ask you to do it along with me. Okay, sounds good. So that's it. So we are going to be starting off with your Python system sessions tomorrow. And any questions do you guys have? Yes, MacBook also you can do it. We don't have to worry about it. You can do this. Okay, we are not going to be covering Visual Studio into that. We are going to be using only Python. Python IDE in mobile. I don't know how good it is going to be in your mobile. I would recommend using it on your system. Okay. One thing that you can do is, yes, if you have a MacBook, the only change that you need to do is you need to set up a VirtualBox and ensure that you have it installed over there, but I'm not going to do that. Okay. Spider is fine. You can use Spider as well, but in the class, we're going to be using Jupyter. Okay. You can use, if you want to use VS Code, you can use it. I don't have a problem, but we are going to be doing it in IDE only in Jupyter. Okay. Okay, so the next question that you have is, okay, so let's get this right, all right? So why is the Python the most preferred language and why is there so much of interest on Python now? Many packages, who's that person? Vijit Chandna. Okay, a good, I think I need to give a clap of hands for that guy, right? I think, so one important thing about Python is that first thing is it is flexible, right? So different languages were used for different reasons, right? So Python is very flexible. So you, on one side, you can use it for web development. You can use it for building applications. One side, you can use it for data pre-processing. You can use it for data cleaning, and then you can use it for data analytics as well. And it has so much of what you call as pre-built packages that can be used in very small codes, right? So you can build on top of them, you can modify them as per you need. And it also has lots of all the statistical packages which are being created by MIT in R, which we have a simultaneous same package which will be created in Python in due course in a month's time, right? So you have those direct ones which is available. And the most important of it is advantages that apart from the pre-built packages is that at some point of time, there was a huge competition between R and Python, okay? But R, the problem is that, like say, for example, you have to access a system of data. The data has to be loaded into the program, and then the calculation has to be done. So that was the main drawback of R. So the bigger the data that you have to load into a program, it was not able to process bulkier data. So R was much more used only for academicians, but not on the real world. So in real world data, you're going to have 10 years of data, 15 years of data. So you cannot use that. So Python is, in that way, it is super useful, right? So you can port it across different languages, and also you can get the code to the data. You don't have to get the data to the code, right? So that's a super usefulness of Python, okay? So that is the main difference, okay? And so I'll tell you for an example, right? So the same package code, say for a regression or something like that, that is available in Java is there. Java also has the same kind of packages, but that will probably have, or will be written in 10, 15 lines. But in Python, you can use it in 1 or 2 lines. So for a person who's learning programming, a novice, which I was certainly in 2012-13, it was much more easier for me to learn a Python than what I was struggling through for the first 7 years, 8 years of my life in doing a C++ or a C, right? Or Java, right? So I don't want to bore you guys more. So I think that's all I wanted to share with you. So what's the action point? Ensure that you have a Windows operating system, preferably a 64-bit system type, and ensure that you are able to download the Python Jupyter Anaconda exe that I've given you, and keep that in your hand so that we'll be able to start off with the installation of the Python IDE and take it from that tomorrow. Okay. Awesome. So hand it over to you back, Varun. And if there are any open questions, I'll be happy to take them tomorrow. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, Yashin. I think thank you for setting up the context, and I see a lot of students very excited, for the Python sessions. So we start tomorrow at 11, right, Yashin? So
it's going to be at 11.
So students, tomorrow morning at 11 is when we start the first session on Python on a series of 5 sessions. So, looking forward to seeing all of you on board. So the agenda of today's session was to get you started, to tell you, okay, hey, this is the big picture. This is what AI can do. These are the algorithms. These are the methods, that you use to build AI models. Kokab, sort of took you through a lot of those pieces, and I saw some of the feedback saying that, okay, this is overwhelming. And guys, starting point, the Lego blocks for you to get there would be Python. So let's say, even when we look at the BTech in AI and machine learning program at Jain University, we start with Python in terms of, machine learning using Python. And then when we go to deep learning, we use Keras, TensorFlow, and a lot of libraries, to make sure that you're all set to build in AI models. Absolutely looking forward to seeing you guys over the next few sessions of Tectonic. And, after that, of course, for those of you who are admitted into Jain University, BTech AI and machine learning, or the BTech cybersecurity programs, we will look forward to seeing that you continuously upskill before you get ready for the industry. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Thank you for all the panelists. Thank you, Yashin and Philip and Kokab and Dr. Vivek Neha for organizing this, Prince, Jay, Anamika, everybody on the panel. This was a wonderful start. And guys, tomorrow onwards, we get hands-on. So I hope everybody is ready. So let me ask this again. Are you guys ready for the session tomorrow? Yes, I see a lot of people all charged up. So guys, thank you so much. See you guys tomorrow. And a few people were asking about the awards that we have, for the Tectonic. That's for folks who attend the sessions, who are responsive during the sessions. And we will look forward to a lot of you getting Alexas and a lot of other awards that we have as part of Tectonic. Everybody, all those who are attending all the sessions and who are interacting will also be getting certificates. But guys, it's not about the certificate and awards. It's about getting ready for the world of AI, getting ready for the world of cybersecurity. And, as part of this new initiative at Jain University, we have created this Tectonic, right? So technology tonic to get you guys ready for the future. So thank you so much. Appreciate a round of applause for everyone on the session here. See you guys tomorrow morning. Bye everyone. Bye.